We've got over 80 players locked and loaded, ready to battle it out in the city of Zargabad. It's the 7th episode of Friday Night Fight. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm MicOne, you're awesome, and welcome to the 7th episode of ARMA Shoutcast. With me today is the leader of Bravo Company, Stardog.
Hey, happy to be here.
And we've got an epic match that's just started for you today, but before that begins, I want to start by introducing the teams. So on BLUFOR, we've got Bravo Company, the 29th ID, JTF2, Viking, the 2nd MSOB, and on OPFOR, we have the 3rd ID, Mercy, Badger Company, OGC, and the 38th Mech and RLLC. So both teams have begun by stepping off of their starting locations. It seems like Red have begun a strong push down the middle with the majority of their forces. What do you take to their initial movement patterns here, Stardog?
Well, to begin, I think there was a miscommunication there. It was the 48th Mechanized Infantry. I think you may have introduced them as the 30th Mech. I may be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that that's what happened. Initially, I'm watching BLUFOR's movement here. If you guys are unfamiliar with this type of situation, BLUFOR's tasking is they have VIPs on their side, and their tasking is to escort these VIPs, maintain security of them to west of Zargabad to the airfield, which will be their extraction. OPFOR is moving out to engage BLUFOR and to remove possession of the VIPs from BLUFOR and take them into their own possession for their own purposes. And initially, I'm watching BLUFOR's movement with the VIPs. They seem to have stepped off, and they're maintaining security, and they're pushing an element off on the southern side of Zargabad, moving west. I really haven't taken a look at Red here, which I move over to take a look at now, and they seem to have spread out in a solid line across that western front of Zargabad, as well as move some elements east, centralized towards the mosque. Whereas BLUFOR seems to be securing the north and southern flanks. Seems Red set up a line on the western front and pushed elements east around the center of the city. So it's not going to be long until we see contact here.
I would say that this southern approach for the BLUFOR is probably, considering the Red 4 positions, their best bet. I mean, the northern side for the Red 4 seems to be heavily guarded near that 3-story apartment or that construction site complex. So that's going to be a hell of a fight if BLUFOR decides to push down there. But the southern approach through if you see the oil drums, tends to be fairly
First contact.
Open. There you go. First contact just to the west of the mosque, where the Red 4 is taking up positions inside that 1-story building.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he was firing at. I saw the tracer fire, and it didn't seem to be. It was generally in that western direction. I'm not sure if he had a target on that or not.
Stardog, before the match ramps up here, can you give the viewers a little bit of information about what this event is and how they can get involved?
Absolutely. So we like to call this Friday Night Fight. We play this every Friday night, and essentially what it is we extend invitations to other ARMA, either milsim or tactical realism communities, to come out and participate in a team versus team, adversarial-based, infantry-focused event night of just where we play multiple scenarios with this type of theme. We don't just always run VIP escorts. It's all different types of scenarios. This is our second fight of the night. And, if you guys are interested in getting in contact with us, I'd encourage you to check our website, which is www.bravoco.us. And there's contact information on that website and a little bit more information about the event and how you guys can get involved. So if you guys enjoy this, reach out to us, and we'd be happy to get your group sorted and participating.
That's absolutely right, and as Stardog was talking, the BLUFOR element on that northern flank has moved quite a ways off. I mean, I believe they're only 3 or 4 strong, 3 strong, but they're the only element on that northern flank, and I'm not sure if they've been spotted. No, I guess they haven't been spotted by the OPFOR at this time.
Yeah, this very small element out there on that north. I think they're just trying to get some elevated position close to the enemy and start relaying information on enemy positions and movement and the like. They seem to be the only BLUFOR element that's out there on that northern flank. And here comes the fire, and I only expect it to start picking up more as this match commences.
Absolutely. You see the two sides going to smash against each other if they continue their general route of approach here, with Red 4 holding just west of the mosque area and BLUFOR down to the southeast of the mosque with their main elements, while holding back with their VIPs. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this match is played in the evening in the map called Zargabad. All players have no scopes, have to use iron sights, and are not equipped with night vision goggles.
That's correct. And additionally, on that note, there's no magnification. Everybody's operating on iron sights, and this is first person enforced.
Exactly, so there's no third person. You can't look behind walls, unfortunately, in here, although, man, it would be nice to with the city environment of Zargabad as the battlefield for this matchup. A slow start, arguably, for both teams here, Stardog. I expected to see a little bit of a firefight by this time already picking up, but we've only seen some sparring engagements from the two teams. As we see both teams slowly moving towards each other, they're bound to crash fairly soon.
Oh yeah, I'm not too worried about that. It's inevitable. This match only has just begun, and both sides are just kind of positioning. This is not, these types of events are. And as the fire starts to pick up, you got to be cautious about your movement and really put a lot of thought into coordinating your efforts and your movement, because one false movement could result in an element getting completely wiped out, and you will not have any support from them in the remainder of the match, seeing as though that every player in this match has only got one life and one opportunity to make the most of it.
We see a BLUFOR AR taking shots at that second story occupied by OPFOR to the north of that first central line. Now we see some firing back from OPFOR with their ARs down on that BLUFOR clump up positions on that two-story.
Yeah, I would expect from this point on that the fire is going to be pretty intense. Both sides are now aware of where they've moved off to and what flanks and approaches they're trying to push and make work. And the sides are going to start coordinating and, the movement's going to result in effect to their information and, they'll move accordingly.
We see now that the flanking element way to the north has been spotted. They just took some shots and now we're taking GL fire from that construction site complex way close to the airfield. Again, the BLUFOR's objective is to get as many VIPs as possible to that airfield location to be extracted. Lots of shots coming down to that northern element as the dude on the top floor decides to head back down that ladder. I think that's a good move.
Yeah, I'm looking at the positioning right now for both sides, and I think it's going to be very difficult for BLUFOR to make work what they've got so far. They tend to have a very small element out on their on the north side of Zargabad as far as for reconnaissance on that elevated position, and they brought their entire rest of their forces of their platoon down south, and it seems like they're going to try and work west of that southern position where red are, blue's got to move straight through them, and red's got that line as in addition to their forces that they've moved east towards the mosque in that centralized position. I think it's going to be very difficult for blue to push through this, but it'll be interesting to watch.
I'm very impressed with the movement patterns of the OPFOR here. I mean, I'd say that they've got two central lines, right? One holding the middle down, preventing the sides from crossing, that middle ground area, as well as a second line, which extends all the way to the south as well with two elements. So it's going to be just, if the BLUFOR decides to continue their movement towards this double road, this main MSR, they're going to be taking shots from both sides. I mean, that's just enfilading fire if I've ever seen it before, and what a great positioning for OPFOR at the beginning of this fight.
Yeah, it's definitely superb, and I would say that they have the advantage at this point.
Absolutely. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is a 72-player fight. 72 players participating on both sides, and all these players are real players.
Now, Mike, I'd like to cut you off here because we have a Victor, a mobilized 50 cal, moving on that northwestern flank onto that two-man reconnaissance position for the BLUFOR.
I've got eyes on that. Woo, he's getting real close as he crests the first hill here.
Yeah, I think they're definitely aware of the BLUFOR position up here. I'm not sure as to what their information is as far as the composition of the BLUFOR in this area. They seem to be probing and trying to see what they can find out and, engage this BLUFOR force.
This token BLUFOR force.
As the fire picks up on the south, we got a lot of fire on that southern front now.
Yeah, we see the southernmost unit now starting to fire, so they've revealed their position. There's actually a technical on that pause covering that flank. So they got an MG up there. That's going to be very beneficial. The units to the north, as I was checking that out, did not notice the sound of the technical approaching. They were not looking in the direction of that unit as the technical decides to pull back and perhaps around towards the rest of the BLUFOR unit there. Still 2 units of BLUFOR up there, so I believe they started with 3, so they might have lost somebody inside that compound there. A little bit of friendly fire, I believe, coming down at that northernmost element as red tracers were hitting.
Oh, I missed that.
Didn't get them though, unfortunately. So, or I guess fortunately, if you're on BLUFOR, so that element is still alive. Let's take a look back at the main engagement star. What's happening there?
Well, there's an exchange of fire. I don't think there's really been any significant casualties on either side. I've yet to actually spot any casualties. But there's been a significant amount of fire, and it was kind of split at that point in time. It seems we're at a lull in the engagements now where there was fire on that north front and a significant amount more on that southern front, engaging those BLUFOR advancing forces. But, you know, little by little, block by block, building by building, BLUFOR's inching their way forward closer to the airfield on that southern front. So I expect the engagements to continue and only to you know, gain in ferocity as the match commences.
Absolutely, and again, I want to just quickly note that the Red 4 is outnumbered by their attacking BLUFOR forces.
BLUFOR seem to have spotted an OPFOR element out in the southwest, that isolated element where there's a couple of guys. An exchange of fire going on in the far south.
Absolutely. It seems like they're deciding not to mount that technical. Perhaps not wanting to get shot off of the MG and just keep their mobility, get their sights on the enemy before they fire. Perhaps a good move, perhaps not. Again, I want to quickly note, as I was saying before, that the Red 4 forces are outnumbered in this matchup. That's just a experimental decision at Friday Night Fights, as the Red 4 are going to be, you know, the defenders. They are going to be dug in these engagements and inherently have the advantage as a result. Lots of fire coming in on that southernmost element. They are taking lots of AR fire. That's 1 down on that southernmost flank. I believe it's the driver that's left. He might be able to mount that off-road and get the hell out of that pause.
I had no idea that they had another, you know, a vehicle
you know what?
up
Looking
on that
at that
location
vehicle,
until now.
their back wheels have been destroyed. So that's why that vehicle is immobile. Now, they might have actually had 3 guys on that Victor, because I see another body by that gun. So 2 units on that south flank have been eliminated.
Yeah, that's right.
Accurate fire, too, from quite a distance away coming in.
That is, that's huge for Blue. If they were unable to identify that, that could have really posed some significant losses on BLUFOR, but they were able to identify it and then fix it and then neutralize it, and that's, you know, that is huge in these types of games.
We see the southernmost BLUFOR element, 4 men strong, beginning to advance, or perhaps 3 men strong, beginning to advance on that southern flank towards that hill.
I'd just like to point out that they're still sustaining suppressed fire up on that location, and what that's doing is that's providing security for that southern element that's pushing west towards the red. That's maintaining that security for them, as Green's now picking up the fire from their northern fronts.
Accurate shots coming down on that second story machine gunner, or AR gunner. He's lowering his rate of fire as the quiet seems to be rolling over this southern front as both teams continue with their maneuvering.
I'm actually surprised at this point that, you know, I would have thought at this point in the match, Red knows that there's elements moving on their southern front, pushing west, and we really haven't seen any maneuvers from Red to actually adjust to intercept this. You know, they seem to be pretty comfortable with their positioning from the very beginning and their plan. And I'm actually really surprised that now that they've identified that the majority of the BLUFOR forces are pushing that southern front, that they haven't shifted forces accordingly.
Perhaps, and definitely you can imagine that that northernmost element holding in the center of town could maneuver to the east towards the mosque and around, and perhaps flank the BLUFOR on the eastern side of the mosque here. But you're right, they're deciding to hold firm, hold their entrenched positions. That's perhaps a good idea.
Oh, that 50 cal's picking up. That 50 cal. Well, he was on that 50 cal from that previously neutralized Victor, but they've now got him suppressed effectively again. On that note, as far as that centralized OPFOR force, the force that is most eastern in the center of town, utilizing that mosque, that definitely would be a plus for them. There's some position that they can use there. However, they don't know if there's any BLUFOR forces east or occupying the mosque at this time. You know, essentially, I'm looking at those northern forces on the far west side that are occupying that construction site. I understand that they're aware of some BLUFOR forces that were operating up on that hillside to their east, which I think there's still 1 or 2 guys up there. But I feel like the majority of the forces that Red 4 have up on that side would probably do better off for them if they were to shift those south onto that western front, essentially opposite of their current location, so that they could get on an L shape and intercept these BLUFOR forces that are pushing on the southern front.
We see the evolution of the defensive lines. It seems like OPFOR, as you said, have remained stagnant in their defensive lines and their decision to hold the center as well as a secondary defensive line closer to the airfield.
It'll be curious to see if Red don't make any adjustments, because, you know, Blue, they seem to be halted. They're still maneuvering some elements west, but it's a much slower approach at this time, where there's still plenty of time remaining in this match.
That's definitely true, as we see the defensive lines slowly shifting. I mean, BLUFOR moving into, it seems almost like a square formation, with the northernmost element holding the hardest, or you know, the most strengthened part of that square, currently engaged with the units in the center, while the westernmost elements are engaged with the units to the south. The VIPs still secure back behind the BLUFOR lines. They're moving up with their security element.
You might find it interesting. I've been switching between some of the players on the both sides that are found on the front lines here, and just sitting in with them periodically in the first-person point of view, specifically the ones that are being engaged, or the ones doing the engagements right now. It's pretty neat to be able to sit on board with these guys and kind of experience it from their point of view.
You definitely get to see the odds that they're facing, as I'm currently hop on board with Locke as he's looking out towards enemy-held apartment complexes. And you see on my screen with the tags enabled that there's enemies just swarming in that sector, but they're entrenched just like he is, unable to get eyes.
Here comes the 50 cal fire from the southwest again. It's coming down from Memphis. They have yet to actually fix that location again, but he's jumped back on the gun.
Hop back out once more, I believe. Yeah. Under suppression again.
And here comes the fire.
So unable of that position to really do anything. I mean, he's all alone up there with a disabled off-road, unfortunately.
Well, I disagree with that, because what he is doing is he's harassing them. He is still there. He's occupying that territory, and that 50 cal is still there, which he's been jumping on periodically and engaging those forces that are advancing. So he still very much has a very large presence in from his positioning with the equipment that he has and the current situation. Until he's either neutralized, removed, or forced to, you know, vacate those assets, he maintains a vital presence.
A vital presence, yes, as he's the only force left on that southern flank, but simply ineffectual. Though he's, you know, he's all alone up there. Though he's got that equalizer in terms of the machine gun, he's gonna try to drive this off-road slowly forward to get a better eyes on the enemy advance. I think that's something he absolutely needs to do, is just try to get a better sight lines on the advancing enemy forces. As soon as he peeks out, he's going to be suppressed, and he's got to get better sight lines somewhere that he can fire at the enemy and the enemy can't fire at him.
Right. I don't know if you just witnessed that exchange of fire that was happening right on the front lines in that center of the town, but there was a pretty heated exchange of fire from you know, almost nearly every flank. And it seems to have died down at this point, but it was definitely very intense for that period of time. And I'm unaware if there were any casualties, but there was a lot of fire exchange.
It looks to me that perhaps the Red 4 position on that southern flank in the center seems to have been slightly, I guess, destabilized in terms of there's only 3 guys, 3 OPFOR left on that southernmost element of that center block. So I believe there's more there before, but perhaps I could be wrong.
I'm sorry, you're looking on blue or red?
Hey, look at that. There's a single BLUFOR element that seems to push west. He's inside a 2-story complex right now, all alone, furthest west.
Micro, yeah, I see him.
That run?
I'm not sure which community he's participating with.
Nor am I. Again, there's a variety of communities participating in Friday Night Fight. And again, if you want to get your unit involved, it's a lot of fun. Message Stardog at the contact information he gave at the beginning of this round, and we'd love to have you.
Now, BLUFOR is really picking up the advance here. They are pushing on that southern flank. It seems like all call signs are pushing west now at this time.
Absolutely, and I think BLUFOR is doing what we called out at the beginning of this game, what they needed to do, is push that southern flank. It's the best advance in terms of where the OPFOR has positioned their units.
Yep, yeah, they seem to be adjusting now. They are pulling elements south to intercept the BLUFOR advance. They brought their technical down now with Ghost Williams inside of that technical, as well as they've shifted a number of elements south to intercept that advance.
Very vital for the OPFOR to be shifting their defensive lines towards the south to meet this oncoming BLUFOR approach.
We have a very close engagement here, just across this main highway. BLUFOR, its front line, it's north of them. OPFOR in this building just across the street, and there's an exchange of fire. But this is really close.
Absolutely, and that's what you get with your CQB fighting inside the Zargabad city environment, which I happen to love the CQB style here inside the city, as we see GLs going off inside that OPFOR two-story compound.
And you have that technical now moving around that southern western front.
Good move on his part.
He is moving east towards the BLUFOR and moving around their southern flank.
BLUFOR does have the advantage of being inside a walled compound, so they do have some cover. As the tactical roars down that MSR, no P says no and decides to pull away from that engagement. He might have taken a wheel.
I think he lost a tire. Yeah, the way that he's maneuvering, it seems like he's lost at least one, maybe two tires.
Okay, no, back wheel's destroyed.
No, he's missing a rear left tire. Yeah,
off-road severely limited by that run through. Didn't able to get any contacts too engaged by that 50 cal on his back. Gonna slowly limp out of his field of fire and perhaps positioned for a static defense for that off-road. Firing still going up on that southernmost OPFOR position.
Yeah, they seem to have spotted Memphis. He relocated that technical
He's
onto the other side
now.
of the stone wall.
Down into the valley where the VIPs are located. He's doing exactly what we talked about, finding that position where the enemy can't shoot him, but he can shoot them.
Yeah, he's done a good job up there, all alone, and still having a significant impact on this match.
Let's take an overview of this match right now. As we see, it seems like everybody's just getting a little bit more dispersed than they were at the beginning. Both lines, especially the BLUFOR, have kind of extended themselves to be farther away from their friendly elements. The northernmost element still alive with their, I believe, one guy. Yeah, one guy left on that northernmost element, as well as a element left near the starting location in the east. See some... Go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's curious. No, that's curious. I wasn't aware that there was somebody out there. I'm focusing more here on the front lines, though. There's still an exchange of fire going. There's really hasn't been any real significant engagements to the point where one side's had a significant advantage and gained, you know, some ground or some something from it. It seems to just be this kind of back and forth, you know, inching forward for BLUFOR and OPFOR just laying out fire and slowing their advance. I really don't think there's been any real significant casualties on either side yet.
That northernmost,
which is
or
pretty
that I guess the southernmost OPFOR held position, if you look at that building they were stationed in, the whole front facade has been collapsed, and perhaps there's some OPFOR bodies underneath that level, as that position has been evacuated and or destroyed.
You're absolutely right. That was previously occupied by OPFOR.
Those GLs doing their work on those old stone buildings of Zargabad. Although the center of that center block is still pretty firmly held by around a squad's worth of OPFOR. As we see now, that northernmost element that we were talking about earlier, Stardog, has come into close contact with that center block of OPFOR. He's got a lot of an enemy in front of him. He's going to be slithering around on that flank.
Once again, Memphis up on that 50 cal, harassing that southern push for BLUFOR.
You got to wonder about the BLUFOR security team for the VIPs, continually scared about that 50 cal on that rise. They don't want to move their VIPs out and get caught in the open with a 50 cal firing down on them, especially when there's a body right outside that compound.
That's the second 50 cal now. The second 50 cal is now firing east down that road, the southern road, and they have killed a couple of BLUFOR.
Absolutely, they've turned it into what we were talking about before, a static emplacement, firing down that MSR with great sightlines into the BLUFOR advance.
Yeah, that's a good lane of fire, especially with the avenue that Blue's trying to push. That's a really good lane of fire for them. It's good use of their assets.
BLUFOR popping smoke in their position. Get some relief from that 50 cal firing down upon them. As the BLUFOR advance down to the south seems to have been halted by that 50 cal. The lines for the BLUFOR, we've seen a big push near the starting of the game, but now it seems to be a little bit stagnant as their lines are consolidating and are taking fire from two different fronts, Stardog. Well, I guess three different fronts.
Well, I'd argue that they're not stagnant. But what ended up happening was they've now hit the front lines. They are now actively engaging on multiple fronts, the OPFOR forces. So they don't have the freedom to continue to really push up without receiving fire. So it's going to be a little bit slower of an approach here. They need to really pick their movement and their fire and coordinate effectively.
And as you
fire
say that, lots of smoke coming down from the BLUFOR, masking their approach to the west towards that airfield.
Oh! We just had an explosion go off on that northern, I guess it was the easternmost element along that road. There was a building that caved in. I'm not sure if there were any casualties, but they are quickly vacating that area.
What was that, a GL, I suppose?
I would suppose that's what it was. And as soon as it's detonated, you know, that building caved in and everybody started scattering.
Looking at the OPFOR's positions, that must have been a Hail Mary shot. Quite a ways away.
It was a good shot, yeah.
Yeah. BLUFOR continue to move to the west, now coming under the next line, I guess the last line per se, of OPFOR defense, deciding in part possibly to bypass the enemy in the center. I think that might be a good move for them. They just got to secure a lane to get those VIPs through. If they can hold off the enemy OPFOR in the center and not really worry about them, might as well just do that. No point taking unnecessary casualties, taking ground you don't necessarily need to capture.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I'm noticing that I've got two markers for green way back from where they initially were coming from. And
they're dead.
I'm almost...
They're dead.
Actually, you know what? I haven't investigated that. Yeah, I think there's actually been two VIP casualties early on in the match that we may have missed.
Taken fire from. Perhaps from that rise, shooting down. Yeah.
It may have been that 50 cal early on, yeah.
So that's 4 VIPs remaining for BLUFOR. Currently secured with a large security force inside that compound.
And I'm on board with some of the elements here on this western, excuse me, you know, the BLUFOR elements that are pushing west right now. They seem to be starting to bound one by one across this gap, and they're trying to close on the enemy. But I'm basically following the BLUFOR advance at this time.
Machine gunners for the OPFOR deciding to pull back across the hill here, or the road here, from his second story position, perhaps to establish a defensive line further back. Currently in the overall tactical situation, Stardog, who do you give the advantage to?
I'm not looking currently at the amount of player counts from each side, which I probably should be. I would still give the advantage to red. They're doing a very good job of engaging the blue and keeping them at bay and preventing them from achieving their objective, which is securing these VIPs, getting them to their extraction, which would be at the airfield to their west. So they're being very effective at that. So I would give the advantage to red. They still have a significant positioning here, which what I mentioned previously was moving their northern elements from that western flank that vacated that construction site on that northwest. They've shifted all of their elements now to the southwestern front to intercept the BLUFOR advance, and now they have that L shape that we talked about where they have elements on BLUFOR's north as well as their front. So they're on two different fronts here. and I would definitely give Red 4 the
And it's
significant
important to
advantage
note,
at this
unlike
point.
other games we've shoutcasted, I don't believe there's going to be any miracle flank from the BLUFOR here. They're pretty clumped up and penned into their advancing kind of formation here with no ability to really flank the enemy. It's going to be head-to-head engagements, I believe, through to the rest of this match.
Yeah, I think it's going to be their ability to clear, very close, clear the buildings, each building as they advance block to block, and make sure that they're eliminating any OPFOR presence that may be occupying that area. But essentially, it seems like their plan from this point forward is to continue pushing west and just clear a way for them to get their VIPs through.
The BLUFOR seem to be forming in a offensive, V, upside down V shape as they continue pushing towards the westward OPFOR elements. But if we take a look on that VIP compound, they're coming under fire right now, as well as their position is pretty exposed to Memphis. I'm not sure if he's still alive up there with that 50 count.
Well, he is. I was just looking at that actually. Memphis, he's still watching that southern approach, the very south, which BLUFOR seemed to vacate that position and take the VIPs with them, and they actually started advancing west in numbers. So if Memphis is able to either relocate that, just very kind of tweak that positioning a little bit, that he can get a lane of fire as he starts opening up. I'm not sure what he's opening up on. There's actually nobody in that area.
Sorry,
That's
guys,
where
I'm
they
trying to get
previously had
tags
moved
back.
from. He's just kind of laying out some fire, reconnaissance by fire type thing.
There we go.
But he may be unaware that they've pushed forward out of that position, and if he's able to relocate, because they really desperately need him up on that position, laying out fire on that
look
flank.
at his position, and he's unable to see that VIP compound that we were discussing earlier from his current position on that off-road. He seemed to be dismounting it right now. Going to be doing some more observation. He was just actually under fire from one of the forwardmost BLUFOR elements.
Well, that's good by him. Rather than moving the truck, without information, he's dismounted. He's now trying to gather, okay, where are they now? What are they doing? And yeah, he's laying out some fire.
Shooting back down. Oh, now we have the VIP element is mobile and under fire. Look at that clump of players trying to advance. They know there's danger out there.
We're starting to get to the point in the match where there's going to be some pretty significant firefights here to very clearly dictate who's going to be the victor and who achieves their objectives in this match. Because now we have one block separating the majority of the BLUFOR and the OPFOR forces here on this southwestern front. And there is going to be some fire exchange that will dictate the end state of this match.
It's almost like a mini battlefield or a mini map within the map, as we see both units deciding to use this central, almost no man's land, as a point separating them two, while they've taken up defensive positions in buildings on either side of that central no man's land courtyard. So one team or another is going to have to run across that point in order to reach the other team.
Now, I think in order for OPFOR to really maintain the advantage, I think their elements that are on the northern flank of BLUFOR, they need to consolidate those forces. They have forces that are across that double highway on their north side that they really need to bring in tight on that northern front in those buildings just on the opposite side of BLUFOR and keep the pressure on.
Absolutely. That element, if they push forward, will help get the flank off on the advancing BLUFOR, which is something vital in these kinds of, close combat engagements. Keep them looking in all directions, and that's something they need to do. If the BLUFOR is able to focus their fire front, I believe in numbers they have more than Red 4 on that position. They might be able to root them out of this defensive line. As we see now, that Red 4 element is slightly mobile, going to be moving straight west, perhaps to reposition there, but they're slowly losing their ability to flank the further west they go. The VIPs moving dangerously close to the front lines now. Just a compound away from the forwardmost BLUFOR element.
Yeah, the intensities are it's getting pretty crazy here. I'm just waiting for it to break out. Everybody's on that front line, and it
looks like, sorry to cut you off, BLUFOR is making the first move, pushing into the forward compounds in that no man's land area.
Oh, man.
Although there's a machine gunner of OPFOR watching that area, locking it down. GL's going out, but a miss in the center of that courtyard area. So BLUFOR have taken their first steps at advance, and that's exactly what they need to do. Time's ticking down. There's a 45-minute round timer for this match.
And I'm looking at the time check right now, and it's looking at about 12 minutes remaining. And there will be an announcement made when there's about 10 left.
So it's crunch time for BLUFOR, and they're doing, I think, what they need to do. Push some elements forward. Start making something happen here. They can't stagnate in this defensive line. The VIP elements still with their large-sized security team.
Got an exchange of
As
fire.
we see the push into that forward compound by the BLUFOR.
Now, Red seem to have they're moving now on that northern front that I spoke about. They still have yet to actually push into that those buildings on the north side of that double highway, or that those two roads.
But if they do, that'll be vital for the duration of this matchup. Now that they got a flank to worry about, and really looking at the BLUFOR lines, no one to really counter it.
It's easy for us to say that that's what they should do with the information that we have. I mean, they know that there's fire coming from that direction. They know where the BLUFOR are, that they're moving from that direction, but they don't know whether they're already occupying those buildings on the northern side of those roads or
that is
not.
very true, and we've seen VIP slip by OPFOR defenders in the past, and it's always good to have that second line a little bit further away from the action to prevent any kind of flanking effort from the BLUFOR, and perhaps do a Hail Mary rush with those VIPs. So that element there will block any attempt by BLUFOR to flank.
There may be a couple people here that you may want to jump on board with in first person, seeing as though we've got a number of elements on the front line here engaging in this front. I'm looking at Sklor right now in his position. He seems to be in a good position to maybe be identifying what's going on here. And there may be a couple other here that you may want to jump on board with and spend some time with in a first-person view.
On board with Bus, currently inside a second-story compound on the front lines. That's the team leader.
Another guy here is OGC Yaz, Y-A-Z, on the Red 4 side. He's laying out a lot of fire. Seems to have a pretty good lane of fire. Optimus Manatee as well just had a grenade go off right in front of him, and he's rolling back behind cover.
That's an MMG gunner for Red 4. Hopping back on board with Yaz. He's got a pretty good position, peeking out of his little... I think he's on the second story towards that BLUFOR advance. Oh, he's taking fire, though. Fire coming down on top of that BLUFOR line. Shots being exchanged. On board with Bus once more. He's taking up positions inside that third story. The roof of, I believe that's an apartment complex.
Here we go. Blue's making a push. They are moving around.
This is exactly what we need to see. We must be nearing 10 minutes remaining.
Yeah. Oh, man down.
That's I almost want to say that well, perhaps not. It seems like the Red 4 have taken positions on side of that of the other side, northern side of that highway. Meaning that approach is going to be tough for BLUFOR to take along those buildings.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I just identified that. And it seems like Red was able to identify Blue trying to make an attempt here with the deploying of the smoke on the BLUFOR side into that dead zone. Red, effectively recognized that and picked up the fire accordingly. And they seem to have been able to halt their advance. They're still maneuvering.
To the south, it looks like. They're sending a whole fire team south.
Yeah.
Which I think that's the move they need to take.
And
this is the lane that they can push through.
That's
only two guys holding it.
Yeah, they've got good cover. Yep. I think you're right. I think if BLUFOR is able to identify that, I think that's the method of approach
that we're waiting for the BLUFOR if they decide to continue their push, and which they're doing now on that southern flank. Only one guy defending.
Now Memphis has eyes on that. Memphis has eyes on that approach, so he may be able to inflict some significant damage from his position.
Grenade out from that one story, and the one guy defending that southern approach. Nobody with that nade. Oh, did he get him?
He took one guy down. He took one blue down. Yeah, he got one blue down in the compound, the initial small building just to his east.
So
There's one blue that he just took down.
For now, good on him. Firing back up at Memphis's position.
And we have a large exchange of fire right now going on.
Memphis under fire.
Oh, that's Anderson laying out the fire on Memphis. Okay.
GLs or grenades going out on that southern approach compound where the advance seemed to have halted from this one defender holding firm in his entrenched position. I'm not exactly sure what to expect now. I almost want to say that the BLUFOR breakout attempt has been slowly halted. I mean, we're running out of time here. Probably 8 minutes, maybe 7 minutes left in the match, with OPFOR holding firm on their defensive line here in the south.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I failed to make the announcement that there's 10 minutes remaining. So I'm actually going to do that now. So there's going to be an addition of 3 minutes remaining on that timer for BLUFOR. So there's going to be a 10-minute call remaining at this time.
That's why I'm here, Stardog. That's why I'm here. As we see, the contact seem to be picking up as the engagements kind of heating up between the two sides. Again, not much happening, although we see that southernmost element of BLUFOR making their approach as the Red 4 that was defending that position before has vacated, pushed back one compound further, which is, you know, perhaps good, perhaps bad. They've given up that compound towards BLUFOR, but have established a new defensive line a little bit more in tune with the rest of their units.
Yep, BLUFOR's feeling the urgency now that they realize they only have 10 minutes to achieve their objective. And looks like they've moved the remainder of their elements that were on the eastern side of that road to the west side now. And it looks like they're preparing to push
MMG's laying it down on that southernmost element.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it seems they haven't really been able to identify that they can push that compound on the southern side of that road moving west. Or at least that's their least. They're moving the VIPs as I say that. They are moving.
That they need.
They're pushing
that
gap.
This is the least defended part of this line. Any more north, and they go into that compound.
Oh my God! A huge frag goes off, kills 3 VIPs and
one
VIP
BLUFOR, remaining in this matchup.
My God.
Very overzealous from the BLUFOR, but that was the attempt they needed to break out of this line, and unfortunately for them, it failed.
That was
Great
epic.
Grenade, or GL, whatever it was.
That was horrible for Blue. Yeah, that sucked. That really sucked for them. They still have 1 VIP remaining.
They've got to wonder now, what am we going to do with this guy? That southern approach, you know, only 3 or 4 guys left from that security team. The northern approach has pushed across that main road, which is good, but again, they're holding in that building as well. Going down the line again, 2 guys in this 1-story compound, and looking over at the OPFOR. Still very strong positions throughout this line.
I don't know where that grenade came from. Did it come from the north side, from those guys on the roof?
Perhaps coming down upon them, yeah.
Yeah.
From that rooftop area. If not, it could have been a OPFOR force from the compound adjacent to that one, just to the west.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Mike, are your tags working right now?
Go into third person and switch around, yep.
Oh, there we go. They are.
Ooh, another grenade.
No, they're working now.
Anybody with that one. But that was perfect. I almost want to say that was a grenade from the compound over to the east. I might have seen an animation for this guy throwing that frag.
Now, I'm taking a quick glance at the remaining players in the match. It looks relatively even, unless I'm missing something here.
In terms of numbers, you're right. I'm looking at it as well for all sides. The numbers do look relatively
So
even.
it seems like what it's going to come down to is which side is able to secure the 1 remaining VIP.
Right. BLUFOR still maintains control on that southern side. Currently in a 2-story.
The win condition is they must get him to his extraction, which is at the airfield. And if they don't, then they have not achieved, even if they maintain possession of him.
Absolutely. OPFOR decided to move up into that BLUFOR control.
Are you watching Ghost Williams on the south?
Hey, Firm, I'm right with him. Oh, there's I think they
Anderson,
heard him.
yeah, he's on that.
If he pushes that corner,
He's
Ghost is gonna die. There he goes. He makes the peek. Oh, but decides to push back. Good move here. Grenade thrown.
Wow.
He averts death.
That was close.
That was close. Pushes back. At least he knows where the enemy is now, and he can relay that to the rest of his team. I believe that's some friendly fire coming down from Memphis, unfortunately, on Ghost Williams. Yeah, hopefully he doesn't die from that. Which he doesn't, gets behind some cover. Well, looking up on the northern side, the BLUFOR have pushed up into a two-story building. Although, not very supported with that frontal assault here. That's obsolete with the forwardmost element of BLUFOR towards the west. And I want to see, if we're metagaming here, or just kind of Overwatch here, I want to see the rest of this BLUFOR force push up with obsolete, support that advance. As time is ticking down from this last engagement. I believe that was another BLUFOR down right there.
Yeah, we're hitting crunch time.
Overwatch view. Yeah, crunch time is definitely now.
Now, is that
what's going on
we got
here?
blue that is occupying the mosque
and firing at their own guys?
Yeah, it appears that they're firing on blue.
That's a hefty element too. Two guys.
Oh, more green coming in on blue. Blue's taking a lot of fire from multiple flanks here, and you know what? It's to be understood that in these situations, especially when you're involving multiple communities. Now, a lot of these communities are pretty regular, attendees in these types of situations. But it's one thing when you've got a community of people that are familiar with playing with each other, and people go down. There's gonna be casualties, and when people can recognize when people go down and make sure that you raise the appropriate personnel and keep all the call signs in coordination and in contact. At this point in time, there is a significant amount of casualties on both sides. Command and control has most.
Sorry, I gotta cut you off here. Ghost Williams seemed to be making it. He's humming and hawing about pushing that flank he pushed before, but I believe, yeah, that's still covered by Andrews.
Oh yeah, he's watching it. He's watching it.
He's making his decision.
Whoa! Fire picking up.
Nope.
A lot of fire picking up.
Now for that one story coming down onto that BLUFOR held position. Ghost might be making the flank he needs here if he comes around the corner and then
oh, he's engaging Memphis. There is red engaging red here, and this is what happens. What I'm talking about when the communication,
both sides are engaging.
When the communication breaks down, and the command and control, you've lost your communication between your call signs. Then this is when this starts to happen. Significant casualties on both sides. Communication is broken down, and now there's friendly fire as well as they're engaging enemies, as well as some of the friendly forces that are extended.
I don't think I've ever seen an engagement where both sides are engaging one person. That's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's got a vendetta for Memphis at this time.
Well, he's a survivor up there on that southern flank as the BLUFOR has strengthened their position down in the south.
Memphis is going to persevere up there.
Memphis, that's, I believe, one of the leaders of the 48th MI.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's the main guy with the 48th Mechanized Infantry Division.
Can we get a time check, Star?
Yeah, there was an announcement made with 5 minutes remaining, probably a couple of minutes ago. So there's only there's only a few minutes left.
Smoke out for BLUFOR. They're making their push. Memphis locking it down, however. Man, it's just a tough position for.
It's looking like Red's going to be able to hold,
yeah,
and that neither side is going to secure this last VIP.
Yeah, BLUFOR seems to be penned into this last compound with his VIP, with just a token element just to the north of them, holding a two-story compound as well. Man, if there's going to be a breakout attempt, it's got to be now. I don't think they'll be able to do it. Too much OPFOR pushed back into strong defensive lines, especially in this two-story blue.
That's an MG firing. OPFOR MG firing on that VIP building.
Cracks coming down as BLUFOR engages. That's some pretty accurate shots coming into that OPFOR compound. Head in there with them.
And that's the 2-minute call. There's 2 minutes remaining in the match.
Sorry, I gotta look inside this two-story compound, and there's just MMGs aplenty in here. Oh,
where are you looking?
He just took a shot through the window on the corner OPFOR element inside that 3-story building with the guys on the roof.
Ah,
They just
okay.
took an MMG death inside that building, but now they've all extracted to the roof. I think this is a good idea. We see some friggin' parkour or roof hopping going down as the OPFOR continue.
Williams pushing that flank again. Looks like he's moving up on Fritz.
He's pushing. Here we go. They're not. Oh, was that
he
friendly
shot by
fire?
friendly?
Yeah, I believe so. Unfortunate for Ghost Williams there. Yeah, it must have been friendly. He's got a buddy following up. Hopefully he doesn't take friendly shots. He is.
Oh, he did! More
he did.
friendly fire. Oh, that's the worst.
That's unfortunate.
They're giving Blue a chance here.
I don't
Now,
know.
it's to be understood that, you know,
Look at
there's a time frame that we try to keep these matches within. But if you know, if the fight's still commencing, we allow it to play out, and we'll extend the time. And you know, OPFOR is opening the window for Blue here.
There's an MMG and an automatic rifle on top of that roof, looking down onto the BLUFOR position. Any push they make, if it's not with smoke, they're going to be mowed down by that AR.
Yeah, the problem is for Blue is their western front is pretty clear. The remainder of the contacts is on their north, but they got some gaps they need to cross.
Yeah, that BLUFOR force in the south has been reduced in size once again. Only 3 or 4 units on that front line. Although the next compound is evacuated, the room, or I guess the dead area between them, is killing grounds for these ARs on the roof. The blue lined building occupied by OPFOR as well. Great sight lines down onto the OPFOR as well as BLUFOR are making their push. The wall fell down on top of him too, just that insult to injury, unfortunately. Stardog calls overtime, time extended to let the duration of this engagement play out as we see rooftop to rooftop engagements.
I think the final VIP has been killed.
I can confirm that. Final VIP has been killed. So that's looking to be an OPFOR victory.
Well, not necessarily, because the win condition for both sides were to secure as many VIPs as possible. So as much as Blue was trying to escort the VIPs to the airfield, it was OPFOR's objective to capture as many VIPs from the BLUFOR as possible. And seeing as though that the VIPs have been wiped, there is no win condition remaining for either side, and now they're just basically just trying to survive and inflict as many casualties on the opposing force as possible.
Let's give a quick recap of the fight while it's winding down through the end here. At the beginning of the match, we saw both teams kind of move into their defensive lines, well, especially OPFOR moving into that central location as well as establishing a farther back defensive line. We had a BLUFOR element sent north that essentially got eliminated on that pause once they were spotted with the technical advancing on them. BLUFOR decided to push down south and west towards the OPFOR lines where they just took lots of fire coming down near that highway and have pushed up towards their current courtyard battleground that they've been stationed at pretty much for the last remaining 20-25 minutes of this matchup.
Well,
Both
that's
teams,
all VIPs killed. No
Yep.
team achieves victory conditions. So that will be the end of this match, and we'll line up for our third match of the night for Friday Night Fights.
I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, I'm MicOne here commentating with Stardog on the 7th episode of ARMA Shoutcast. We'll see you in the next one.